Hello and welcome back. It's been a while since my last video. I've changed jobs and have been slowly getting caught up on things. Progress on the Mog hasn't stopped, but did slow down a bit. I'm adjusting my goals so that even if it's not done, I can hopefully have it running and drivable by Mogfest this year in August. With current fuel prices, we'll have to see if anybody can actually attend. Thank you for following along. What I will try to do going forward is more smaller uploads so there isn't such a gap between videos. I'll also try to keep videos informational for anyone else that may be looking at rebuilding their Unimog. As always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I will answer them as best I can. Thanks for watching.
It's out. Now for more expensive bullshit that I wasn't originally intending to do, but you know, these things happen. It's a project.
You supposed to get lightheaded after stuff like that?
What have I done? What did we do?
Took some bolts out.
We took a lot of bolts out.
Actually, not that many.
For anybody that doesn't understand how a Unimog drivetrain works, the drive shafts are completely enclosed inside the torque tube. So this is the actual drive shaft that runs down from the transmission all the way down through there to the pinion on the diff. There's no lower U-joint. It's just the one at the transmission that is encased inside of there. So realistically, that thing shouldn't ever wear out.
I was gonna say, it's so stubby that you don't really have to worry about it breaking.
It really is stubby. Look at the snout on that diff. There's like 6 bearings stacked up in there. There's no movement in that pinion. And the reason this all had to come out anyway was because the locker wasn't working. So now we're just rebuilding the whole front axle.
We'll just weld it.
No.
Lincoln locker.
No. No, bad. Alright, we'll talk to you guys later. 4 pins. I only took out 2. That's fine. And from what I understand, let me grab the camera, get you closer in here. Look. So there it is. There's the O-ring I'm talking about. That's your seal between this surface and that surface. And you've got the actual axle seal down in there. And then this is the bronze bushing that the end of the axle rides in. These are the older style because they go on the outer edge and kind of retain themselves. The newer style, if I understand correctly, actually goes in from the other side and you flare it. So I think this side's like a press fit or something. I'll have to look into it a little more, but that's off. They're slowly coming apart. How to undo all that mess. Oh, and here is the ball. This is how Unimog suspensions work. This retainer holds this whole thing to the transfer case, which is part of the transmission, which is bolted to the chassis. So the Unimog has one link that has a tie rod to go there, and a link between there and the chassis to keep the axle side to side. And then this is the only other link. The forward, the pressure this way, the pressure that way of the drive wheels pulling and pushing or whatever. Any of the flex and twist, everything happens here on this big ball. There's a Teflon liner inside of this thing. I'll get there at some point and see how that looks. One step at a time. One bill at a time. But I think I'm gonna turn off the camera and keep working on this for a little bit. If anything interesting happens, I'll bring you back. Alright, we're at the punch out the alignment dowels and see if I can pull the pumpkin off phase. there you go. You can see how big the ring gear is on this thing in 1 second when I figure out how to lay it down. Oh shit. There we go. That's actually sitting pretty well in that thing. Hey, look. There's my front locker. Dogs are a little rounded off on the edges, but not terribly. Go ahead and stick that in the back. Let's see here. There's one of my little arms that controls that dog. Don't look. So, you see it's wider than it is tall. You have to rotate 90 to get those big old teeth out of there. And they're a little chewed up on one of the edges here, but most of the tooth face is still good, so I'm going to call that fine. You can see the let's see here. I'm going to do this. The dog teeth in there still look pretty good, so I'm just going to put the dog back on, reseal this axle, give it a coat of paint, obviously, clean it up, call it good, clean the mud out. That one and that one, that's where those alignment dowels go. Set this thing back on there, punch those out, or punch them back in after you rotate it. So installation is the reverse of removal. Alright guys, we're going to do this stream of consciousness style because I recorded some over the last week before, and then ended up working graveyards, which kind of threw me off. Now it's a week or a few days later. I've honestly forgotten because the graveyards, they threw my days off so bad. Let's do this. We're going to recover this because I don't remember what all I said. So. Box from Expedition Imports in California. He supplies Mog parts, everything from 404, probably some 411, the smaller stuff, all the way up to the 1300s and big stuff. You could probably get U500 parts, but when you got something that new, you can go to Freightliner, technically. New brake reservoir. New drive shaft boots. O-rings for the upper knuckles. These he didn't actually find with the original order, but he was able to find them later and ship them to me. It happened between the last video and now. These are the shims to set the input bearing, the tapered roller bearing for the input side of the portals. These, another item that he wasn't able to find last time, but was able to correct this time. These are an updated locker collar slide. There you go. They have a little, you can see it's not perfectly straight. That is so that if you pull the axle out, the locker collar on the side of the diff can't fall out into the housing, and those would fall out with it because they're not retained by anything, they're just slip fit, which is perfectly fine for their application. You just have to know to engage the locker before pulling the axle out. I received 2 of these. These are new upper kingpins.
This one's covered in cosmoline. Delicious cosmoline. That one's going to be a spare. I measured out my pins. One of them was still good. One of them was bad enough that it needed to be replaced. I also got 2 new screws for the retainer for those upper bearings. Let's see here. New ball joint boots for the tie rod. New lower O-rings for the bearing side. Yeah, there's the straight one. So those are both going to go back. He included prepaid packaging for that. I don't know if I needed this gasket or not. I didn't remember taking it off. But it's a part and it's available, so I figured it was safer to order it anyway, and if I don't need it, I'll just put it into stock for something else. Other than that, I also received 4 of these Coney truck shocks. These are actually adjustable. You get them all the way down and turn them. There's a valve in there that adjusts. I've got them on the minimum setting right now, and you know, there's actually some resistance there compared to the stock shock absorber, which can... Oh, this one's seized up. So this one's binding a little bit. But there you go. Shouldn't collapse that fast. And that one kind of did, but I can adjust that later. Also, new Monroe steering dampener, because the old one isn't dampening anything anymore. You do need an adapter kit to attach that to this and the other side. It doesn't fit exactly right, so I'm going to have to do a little fab work. If not, I may order the one from Expedition Imports. I ordered this one in pieces to try and save a little bit of money. These Coneys were not cheap. Alright. Those in there. Those in there. And put all that back in there. Let's see. What else? These are the old bushings. This is the worst worn out pin. As you can hopefully see, there's some play in that one. And this one, terrible. Hot dog down a hallway. They're not great on the new pins, but they're a lot better. These pins, I did finally get my measurement. They measure out at 24 millimeters plus or minus 0.09, as near as my cheap Harbor Freight calipers can read. And I've got 2 new of these bushings. I pressed these out with my new to me 12-ton press. That's been a fantastic purchase. I also purchased a small blasting cabinet from the same gentleman. I'm going to strip the paint off these. The top pins I'm not worried about of using glass beads. They don't affect tolerances. They just clean the surface, so they'll take the paint off and no metal, just rust. The bottom end, I'm going to take my used cap out of my other knuckle that I got spare with the other truck I bought. Install that with the old O-ring. And build that whole stack to keep that bearing safe and sealed up so I can sandblast the whole thing. Of course, I'll need to degrease these, and that's what I was going to do next. So, follow along, children.